Sir, you are not audible. Your mic is mute. You.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible now? And can you guys see me?
Sir, your voice is quite low.
Hello. Hello.
Sir, we are not able to listen you clearly. Your voice is quite low.
Uh, 1 second. Now, am I audible?
Uh, Seems better.
Okay. And you guys are able to see the screen?
Yes,
And
sir, we
well,
can see the screen, but I think still the audio is quite low. If you can adjust something,
one
there
second.
might be the issue with the mic.
Um, hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now audible?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, but still the voice is quite low. I
Uh,
think the mic is might be far. That's why there is an issue.
okay. 1 second. I'll just try to figure it out.
Please try to keep mic near if possible, so that we can hear you clearly.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now better.
Okay. So I'll have to hold the mic right now. So, okay. Can you guys see me?
Yes, sir. First, I would like to give you some introduction about you,
Uh-huh.
and then we will proceed with the meeting.
Sure. So should I?
Good evening, all. I, Abhishek Shah, welcomes you all on behalf of Arthavruddhi, the Finance Club of BK School of Professional and Management Studies. We are back with one more amazing webinar for all of you. Today, we have Mr. Ganesh Nayak with us for delivering a session on key skill set to survive in corporate world. Mr. Ganesh is a certified financial risk management professional from GARP with several years of experience working in organizations like Nomura, Morgan Stanley, and Kotak Group. At present, Mr. Ganesh is a uh, Chief Learning Officer at Fintelligence, a premier education institute with a focus on financial education. Notably, he is also an alumni of Kiri Somaya Institute of Management Studies and Research. He helps training and mentoring finance and risk professionals to do better in their careers and grow professionally through a lot of industry recognized in-house training and international certification programs. I hope you have next 1 hour full of learning new things. I request all participants to kindly keep their video and mic off during the session. You can put your question in chat box. We will have Q&A session followed by discussion. Thank you. Over to you, Ganesh sir.
Thank you very much, Abhishek, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my experience, my learning from the corporate world. And like Abhishek mentioned, I'll give you a brief about my journey till now, and then I'll start talking about what I have learned in my corporate life. Okay, so obviously, like you guys, I've also completed my MBA from KJ Suma Institute in Mumbai, and I got placed into an insurance company into their risk team. Okay, and that was my first experience, and that company was primarily an Indian company. So you had a first experience, and that too, that experience was in an Indian setup. Okay, so I worked there for around 2.5 years. Then I simultaneously completed my FRM. Because of that, I got an opportunity to move into an MNC. That's Morgan
Sir,
Stanley.
sir, still your voice is quite low.
Okay.
Please keep the mic near if
Yeah.
possible.
No problem. So I should be audible now. Okay.
Yeah, sir.
So
Quite clear.
so I was talking about so after my experience with the organization Indian firm, I moved towards the MNC, which is Morgan Stanley, and that was a complete shift of mind for me because I moved from an Indian firm to an US firm and basically an US investment bank. Okay, so the kind of processes that I saw, the kind of people I met, there was a huge difference. The way they were doing business was very different. The way they were communicating with their employees were very different. From there, I worked there for around 2.5 hours years, and then I moved towards Namura, and it's a Japanese investment firm, investment banking firm. Again, the shift was very different. The way Americans do business, their way of doing business is very fast. I moved towards corporate side of Japanese, where primarily Japanese culture is very different, and being Namura, the way they were doing business was very different. The way they were communicating within the organization, the way work was moved within the organization was very different. So I got to see three different side of how the business can be done and how you can work in three different setups. So I had some learnings which I would like to share with you guys. And so I've basically termed it as key mantras, which you can follow. This is what I have learned from my experience. I'd like to start out with that, and then in between, in case you guys have any questions, I like you guys to put it on chat, like Abhishek mentioned, and if possible, we'll open up for the queries at the end where you can ask me a few questions also. So
Hello. Yeah, sir, there might be issue with your microphone. The voice is also quite low as of now.
okay, 1 second. Uh, Let me see what I can do. Yes. Is it good now?
Yes, sir, perfect.
Okay, take it. So 1 second. Perfect. I'll start with that. So, few of the things that I have learned and I've kept in mind that you guys will be joining corporate soon. So, few things that will help you to succeed. Okay. Now, the first and important learning that I got when I immediately joined Morgan Stanley was basically to be very punctual with respect to the work that has been given to you. Okay. Because when I was working with an Indian firm, so a lot of people, a lot of the times, the projects that were you were working on got delayed because you were not getting approvals within the firm. So that was okay over there because the culture itself was not very stringent. But as I moved towards the bigger organization, MNC, it was very fast. You have to deliver within that particular punctual time that has been set aside by your manager or your team manager, because in bigger organization, primarily you will get opportunity to present also. So if you're not good with your work in terms of time, and if you're not respecting other people's time, that will have a big impact on your career or the way people are going to perceive you in the organization. Okay, so I'll give you one example of that. So in when I joined the investment banking side, and over there, within the first 3 weeks, there was an expectation of me presenting to the ED or the executive director of our division. And the content which was there was, before presenting to him, I was supposed to present it to my manager and my VP, and I could not create that presentation or the content or document in time. It had a delay of around 1 day, and that had a very good impact, and that had a very big impact on my appraisal also, so that people remember the points. Okay, so that is very very essential for you guys also to be particular about. And I would like to tell you that this if you're respecting people's time in the corporate world with respect to the deadlines, and then that primarily is very taken positively. So that is the first thing that you should remember. Second is basically you should be very good with the understanding of the hierarchy of the organization where you're working. Okay, now let me give you an example. When you're working for an Indian firm, it it might be this case that you have offices in 10 different cities in India, and you have a corporate head office sitting in Bombay or sitting in Bangalore, and entire head senior management is sitting over there. So you know them by their name. But if you're working in MNC, the difference is that you have a team. So I was a part of the risk management team, so we had risk management India head sitting over here, plus we had risk management heads sitting across global locations, the US, then London, Singapore, Hong Kong, Beijing, Brazil. So we had heads for each region. Okay, and then there was a global head for our entire division, and this is just my risk division. So you have to understand, you will have finance, you will have operations. So if you know who are the key people in your organization, then when you communicate within risk, like within your function, or when you communicate across the organization, that will be really helpful, because people know that you are aware about your organization. You people know that you are aware about people within the key post, who are sitting in key post in your organization. And that is not easy. Okay, because you have in my function itself, like across the globe, there were like 400 500 people. Okay, and in that, if I look at the top senior guys, there were like 50 15 20 30 people itself. And this is only my division or my function. Apart from that, there were other teams, other functions whom we were interacting with. So knowing key people helps you to get the work done properly. Okay, and let people gives a perception also that you are aware about the organization that you're working in. Okay, so this is very important learning that I had in my career. Next is the core value and the business. Now, what I wanted to highlight over here on the slide to you guys is that whichever organization you are working with, each organization has a set of core values which they want to focus. Okay, for example, some of the organization put their customers first. Some of the organization put their employees first, right? So Virgin Atlantic says that they keep their employees first, not their customers. But if you look at Tata Group, they have a very clear cut understanding about who their customers is, and they have to deal with customers with integrity. So knowing what your organization's key skill set is, or basically key core values are, help you to excel in that organization very fast. Okay, because you cannot deviate from that core values when you're dealing with a customer, when you're dealing with internal people, when you're dealing with senior management, because everybody knows about it. Okay, that is the first thing. Second, I wanted to highlight that whichever company you're planning to join in, make sure you understand what that company's business is, and more importantly, where that company from which source that company is generating the revenue. Okay, so I was a part of the investment bank, that is from the finance side. Now within the investment bank also, the one of the core functions or thing that was driving their revenue was primarily asset management, and was also wealth management, and then merger and acquisition. Okay, now knowing these areas helps you to understand whether your firm is doing good for that particular year or not. Okay, so and this will help you to also clear your career path. Okay, because if you realize that as an industry, people are not able to make, or the companies are not able to make good money in asset management, then you can look out for a change into wealth management side, or you can look out for change into some other divisions, other business side, retail brokerage, or your institutional brokerage side. If you know where the business is or where the revenue is, it will help you to grow fast, generate revenue for the organization also, and make yourself good money in terms of remuneration also. Okay, so that is what is essential to, and that this is expected from finance students as well, that they should know what exactly the business of the organization is where you're working. Okay, next is being proactive and being involved. Okay, now this is actually common sense, but uh, what I wanted to highlight over here is, in the organization, if you're only going to do your work, it will not help you to excel. Okay, you have to be involved in other stuff that are happening around you. Okay, within organization, there might be teams who are looking at trainings. There might be teams who are looking at, say, functions that the organization is going to organize. There might be teams which are related to some events. Okay, so be active, we participate in those areas also. Okay, a lot of these organizations run mentorship programs. Okay, a lot of these organizations have charity teams. who will run charity programs within their teams, within their global units. So participate in those extra things, because this will help you to bring visibility. That means people will know you. That is very, very important for you to grow in the organization. Okay. Secondly, even when you're working, okay, even doing your own work, make sure that you give something extra to your audience. Now, your audience is not primarily your manager. It is someone whom your data, or where the stuff that you are doing. If you're creating reports, then if suppose that report is going to finance team, then finance team is your customer or your client. You have to think about what they are doing, how you can add value to their work, and how can you try to reduce their work, and how can you bring in some different angle in terms of the work that you've been doing. That proactive approach is very, very important. Okay. Because when you go for your final year and appraisal, okay, so in corporate side, every year they will try to assess you how you have been faring with respect to the entire year. They will give you pointers in terms of 1 to 5, and based on that your bonuses, your growth, your promotion will be decided. Okay. But having proactiveness creates a good impression, not only in front of your manager, but also in front of other people in the organization. Because whenever your promotion is going to happen, whenever your growth is going to happen in the organization, your manager is definitely a key person. But there will be other senior managers or senior individuals from other teams who will have say in that. Okay. So having a good impression is going to help you a lot. That is where your proactive approach will assist you in growing up. Okay. And the next point, okay, this is what I have learned in the initial years of my career, is that you have to be smart in showing your capabilities. Okay, I'll give you an example. So, if suppose I have been given a work which can be completed in which is expected to be completed in six hours, okay, and if you know some workaround, if you know some technology which will help you to reduce that working hours, you should not do it immediately. First, do it manually. Okay, let that work to be done in 6 hours. Okay. And then when you're doing that activity for second time or third time, suppose it's a monthly activity, so you're doing it next month, third month, then start improving it. Okay. Okay. Now, why should you not showcase your abilities immediately? Because the managers or people in the organization, they'll want to see you grow. Okay. So first, do the work properly, and then understand the work, do the mastery in that work, and then keep on changing it. Even if you have the capabilities since the beginning, do not just directly implement it, because you might end up doing something wrong. So first, do that activity, understand that activity, master that activity, and then start changing it, or start using your capabilities. Okay. And when I'm talking about capabilities, it is mostly about your way of doing things. Okay. It can be a report, it can be working on Excel, it can be working on Python, it can be working on some presentation. Okay. So any improvement that you're planning to do it once you understand the purpose of the work activity and who are the audience, and you have done that activity for some time, and then start making the change. Okay. So that is where you have to be very smart in terms of your work. Okay. And people in the organization definitely like new guys who are smart. Okay. So, and who who are able to bring in new ideas. Okay. So that is this point which I've learned in the initial years of my career, that you have to showcase your ability in a smart and effective way, which should not hurt other people's feeling also. Next is be ready for change. Okay, now I've purposely highlighted a book which is basically Who Moved My Cheese. This book is entirely about change management. So I like to give you an example. So when I was a part of Morgan Stanley, I was asked because we had to move to a new team. Okay, so two, three people of my team were asked to move to a new team. A new team was getting set up, and one of my manager who was supposed to lead that team. Okay, he took our interview, we had a discussion, we knew what is the work going to be around, how is the work, how we are going to be doing that work. So we were okay, we got hired in that team, we moved to that team, and within 1 week that manager who was taking our interview, who onboarded us in that team, was fired from the organization. So change is going to be there, you have to be patient. So that this example, so the manager with whom we were working, or we were supposed to work, we had an initial discussion, very good discussion about how we're going to be managing the team. And now that same person is not in the organization, then that discussion is null and void. So you cannot go to the senior management and say, okay, I had this kind of discussion. This was my expectation. No, now things have changed. The requirement of the job has changed. You have to be patient and you have to work with that change. You cannot just keep on cribbing. Okay. So this has happened with me on the organization. This is very common. Okay. So your manager moving to a different team, or suppose this can be a case that you have worked for a manager for entire year, and during the appraisal period, he has moved out and somebody else is going to do your appraisal, right? So that is definitely there, and that happens a lot in the organization. So you have to be patient. You cannot crib, you cannot do anything. It is the way it is. So you have to manage that change effectively. Do not react. Okay, not react impatiently regarding your expectation. Try to understand what is the senior management expectation and then respond to that change. Okay, that is very very important. Next is corporate world. Okay, is perception driven. That means if suppose people in the organization feel that they are just feeling it is not right, okay, it is not correct, but still if there is a perception about you that you're not good in your work, okay, or you're very aggressive while talking to people, okay, or you're a rebellious, okay, whatever work is given to you, you do not do it in a proper way, or you try to find nooks in that work. If that is a perception about you, that perception will go a long way. That means people talk about you, okay. So that perception can have a very big impact on your appraisal, your growth in the organization. Simultaneously, there can be good perception about you. So if people are talking good about you, they will, and it is going to talk, and people will talk across the globe, okay. So your manager talking to somebody else and telling about your capabilities, so that is definitely going to be there, okay. So be mindful, since you're going to be joining the corporate world soon. So make sure whatever perception you are creating in other people's mind, you have to be cognizant about that fact. Your entire appraisal, your entire growth in the organization is dependent upon that aspect, okay. Networking is very very important. Now I'll give you a very simple example. What happened is, uh, when I was working for an Indian firm, over there the focus was not on networking, okay. Organization doesn't talk about networking over there, but as I move towards the MNC side, they they are explicit and they highlight that you have to network, okay, and not only networking within your team, you have to network across the team, and that is where they have a lot of forums available. Okay, I'll give you an example. So in Morgan Stanley, we used to have coffee with MD, okay, which basically a coffee conversation with the senior management. So if you, so these senior managements had to conduct these kind of sessions on an annual basis at 10 or 15 times, and you can book your seat in that session. You can talk to that senior management. So it was kind of an open door policy. You had an ability to talk to anyone, you regarding your ideas, regarding your problems, or whatever new thinking that you have, okay. But again, having a network over there was very very essential. That is only possible when you speak up, okay. That is only possible when you put up your ideas, when you put up your thoughts properly, articulate it in a very clear, concise way, okay. And that is highly valued in the corporate side. And a lot of the times the information, okay, suppose there is a job role that is going to get open in the finance side, and you're sitting in risk and you want to move to finance, okay. If you know somebody over there, you will get that information beforehand, okay. And a lot of the time hiring does happen because you know that person. So you're going to hire someone because you know that person beforehand, and that's where your hiring takes place. So having a network is very very important. And not, I'm not talking about network being your LinkedIn network only, or your social media network. That, and when I'm talking about network, I'm emphasizing on you knowing the person, you having a conversation with that people, that those people, okay. So that will help them to remember you, okay. Having just a connection on LinkedIn or the social media is not the network that I'm referring about. Entrepreneurs mindset is more about you looking at your work, you looking at your manager's work, and you looking at your team's work. You're trying to identify which is the important activity that your team is doing. So anywhere you go, so 20-30% of your work is going to be the cream work or very good work, but the rest 70 or 60% of the work is going to be admin work or work which is not, which does not require much of a skill set. So those kind of thing, or the those 20-30 thing percent is the backbone of your team. That your team is existent only because of that 30-40% of that work. So you have to be very clear that you cannot goof up on that 20-30% work, and how you can make that work better. That is where your value will be, and that is where your entrepreneurial mindset becomes very important. Okay. And when I'm referring about entrepreneurial, it also means having leadership skills. So if suppose you are in second in line in your team, okay, after your manager, if your manager is on say maternity leave, or if your manager is not there because of some health issues, then you will have to take charge of the team. You have to make sure that the team's deliverables, it can be reporting, it can be files, it can be presentations, it can be settlements. So those things are being delivered in an effective way, and that is being highly appreciated when you are taking leadership responsibilities within your teams, within the organization. That is visible to all the people in the senior management. Okay. And rapport with your manager. Now I wanted to highlight this very very important point for your growth in your career also, that if your manager trusts you, he will give you good work, he will give you freedom, will give you independence in the work, right? So that trust or that rapport with your manager is important, because what will happen is, if you're doing good work, if you have been working tremendously good, your manager will ideally speak on your behalf to the senior management regarding your growth. So he is your brand ambassador, he or she is your brand ambassador. So if you have a very good rapport with that person, or with your manager, and if you are able to identify what he is expecting from you, okay, then that expectation can be met easily, and that rapport, that connection will help you to grow in the organization, not only in terms of your hierarchy, growing from manager to senior manager like that, but also in terms of compensation. Okay. And when that manager will move to different organization, most likely he will ask you to join over there also. So that rapport is very very important. Okay. People should be able to rely on you. Okay. People should be able to trust you. Okay. And the first person that you're going to be working with is your manager. Okay. So I have tried to summarize whatever learnings that I have in these 10 pointers, and whatever things that I've learned in my experience. So is there any particular query that I can address in terms of your personal questions, or any other specific query? Come on, guys.
Guys, you can now unmute yourself and ask the question, and you can also put the question in chat box if you have any.
Perfect. Any queries? Okay.
Sir, we have received some question while registering the students for the webinar. I will ask those question on behalf of those students.
Sure, sure.
Sir, so there is one question from the person from engineering background. So he said that he's currently pursuing BTech and want to get job in marketing and product analysis. So how he can go for such jobs? I mean, what kind of courses or what kind of skill set he should develop for that job?
So marketing and product analysis. Okay. Now
Yes.
this is more about see uh, when we talk about the marketing domain, the key skill set that you should have is you should understand what brands are communicating with their customers. Okay, and that is where your entire sales, entire marketing communication, entire marketing teams revolve around. Okay, so if you are from engineering background, okay, so with respect to product, okay, now obviously he might be interested into some technical product, okay, or it can be a simple product like a shampoo. Okay, so if you want to move into the marketing side, obviously, then there are a lot of certification which you can do. Okay, that those certifications are more related to communication. Okay, now in terms of communication, it is not about the way I'm communicating with you. It is about how your billboard is going to do a communication with the audience who's going to look at it, how your advertisements are going to do the communication. Okay, how your logos are going to do the communication with your customer. Okay, why do you see at Hindustan Unilever changing the logo? Why do you see a particular brand changing its color? So that understanding about the communication with your customer is what I think that is a basic skill set that he should have. And if he wants to grow into that domain, which is hardcore marketing, okay, or branding side, or the product analysis side, then having an MBA would definitely help from a very good college. Okay, I'm talking about entering into that field because he's not from that domain. And also, his background about engineering can bring in new perspective. Okay, so what he can do is he can try getting into try doing some smaller certification courses, which online courses also, which can build up his profile related to marketing, because currently his background is full technical side, which can be created into the marketing side, which and those that will help him to project that he is interested in the marketing domain. And that can easily be done by doing a lot of certifications which are available on Udemy, which are available on Coursera, okay, or edX. So having those certifications will have him some talking points when he get into an interview. Okay, but the core thing that he should understand about that role about marketing is how we are communicating with the customer. I hope I've answered the query.
Yes, sir. We have one more question. What kind of extra courses to be done to get core finance job with our MBA?
Okay, core finance. Now, when we are referring about core finance, now people do associate that with equity research. People do associate that with merger and acquisition or corporate finance roles, okay, or say risk management roles, or primarily into treasury related roles. So if you look at current scenario where the banking sector, especially in India, is moving, so either if you want to grow or you want to get into good roles, okay, either you have to be a CA, okay, or an MBA. These are the core two basic skill set that will help you to grow. You can get entry at a graduation level also, but that means you will get only those basic work. But if you want to get into that core roles, apart from these two courses, either you can try for CFA, okay, which is a global certification, or you can go for FRM, which is again a global certification. Plus, having a good understanding about Python or the technical side, Python R, will be very helpful for you guys, because entire banking sector is moving towards automation, is moving towards artificial intelligence. So they would need people who are techno functional. That means they need people who know finance, and they need people who know the coding side or the technical side of it. So if you are having an engineering background also, that will also be helpful. Okay, and why am I referring about these two courses also? There are other courses also, for example CAIA, that is basically alternative investment, but that course will only help you if you want to grow abroad and work for an hedge fund, because the jobs related to that profile is currently not that much available in India. Then there are very niche courses also. So there is treasury management related courses, okay. Then there is market technician related CMT, okay, certified market technician related courses are also available. There are people who are doing CFP also, which is related to accounting, but using that certification people do get into core finance roles like corporate finance, where you are looking at debt financing, where you are looking at IPOs, underwriting of the underwriting of IPO also. So having these global certification like CFP, CPA, or CFA, or FRM, or CIA is now the general requirement. It's going to be general requirement of these finance courses. Plus technical courses, technical skill set is very very important. Like I mentioned about Python or R, that is going to be the core thing now.
Okay. Sir, we have one more question. Do you think that generally corporate world hiring works more on referral and recommendation rather than interviews in respect of Indian company or MNCs?
See, referral and recommendation will help you to reach to the interview, but you will have to crack interview. There is no two way about it. So why am I referring you? Because if suppose I'm hiring someone, I'm a manager, whatever recommendation I might have get, if I'm not confident that I will enjoy working with this person, if I'm not confident whatever work I'm going to give to that person, he will be able to deliver it, nobody will hire you. Okay. So even if you are doing MBA, even if you're doing CA, any other course, that certification or that skill set will help you to land to the interview. Okay. Like the referral is basically helping you, but interview is a very very important role, and especially the interview with your manager or the hiring team. So a lot of these companies, they have hiring being done for the interviews that are done is at 3 4 level. So if you go to Goldman Sachs, they have 7 8 rounds of interview. Now when they are putting so much time in talking to you in those 8 rounds, that means definitely there is something that they're going to be checking in that, and they're assessing you in that aspect. So coming back to your question, recommendation or referral will only help you to reach the interview, but not not getting into that job. It's all about the manager's comfort level.
Okay, we have one more question. Is growth in risk functions lower than the front end job functions? How one can move from back end function to front end function?
See, front end roles, if I talk about banks or financial side, front end roles means you're talking to the customer. Okay. Now if you are into the retail banking side, which is like SBI or HDFC, that is basically where you're generating sales. You are doing wealth management to HNIs. Okay. You are into their credit card business. Okay. Where you're doing big and high end deals. Okay. If you look at investment banking, it is more about trading side, trading of the securities, or it is more about merger and acquisitions or deal structuring related reviews. Obviously the growth is very high because the compensation that you get for getting that work is around, if you say in terms of bonuses, it has to be around 40 to 50% of your CTC. So if you're generating around 20 lakhs then of your CTC, then ideally around 7 to 8 lakh is your bonus if you are in that front end role. And majority of their income, or that person who is in that front end role, will be from the bonus. Okay. And they are generally sales driven. But if you are sitting in the risk side and if you want to go into the front end roles, okay, very very important is your networking. Okay. Because if you know people in that team, it will become easy for you to understand what that team needs, and when there is a role that is getting open in that team, and then you can go and try to do create some rapport, and then you can apply for that interview. Okay, that is one thing. Second is your interpersonal skills and your ability to sell yourself or sell your skill set to that interviewer is going to be very very important, because when you are entering into a front end role, you just cannot have just knowledge. You have to talk to people, you will have to talk to your customers, you will have to talk to your peers sitting in other companies with whom you're going to be working with. Okay, I'll give you one simple example. So if suppose you are a part of the investment banking team of Morgan Stanley, and they are doing some merger and acquisition, then you might be working with somebody from KPMG or somebody from PwC, which is basically a due diligence company or internal audit company, and those things, they are going to help you in that entire merger and acquisition. So you need to have a very good rapport with those kind of people also. That is only possible when you have the ability to connect and talk to people effectively. Okay. And having a skill set, having a knowledge about finance will definitely help you, because in banks, when you're talking to customer, it is all about numbers. So how quick you are with numbers, how good you have in respect to the margins that you're connecting, or the profit numbers or revenue share numbers of the organization with whom you're dealing, or the product that you're selling, will give you a very good edge. So that if you are able to build up your skill set in these three four areas, it becomes easy for you to enter in those front end roles. I hope I've answered your query.
We have few more questions. To what extent this pandemic has affected the corporate culture and their way of working? Is there any impact of this COVID in corporate working and culture?
Yes, there has been a shift, definitely. So previously, what used to happen is even these big MNCs, they have a setup. For example, in Bombay, they have a setup of around 3,000 people, 4,000 people, and they had a facility to work from home, but they never utilized it. But right now, because of this pandemic, the way the work is getting done is changing. Okay. Now, previously, people were working for 9 hours. Now, since they're working from home because of delay in internet and all of these things, they're working for 11 hours. So, the expectation of the manager is also changing. Okay. That you are available because you're not able to go out. Okay. Secondly, the expectation that you will be able to take up extra work is also there. So, now a lot of these companies are firing people. Okay. When they're firing people within a team which was having four people initially, now it is like two people or three people. That one extra work, now you will have to manage that. So that is again going to increase the number of hours. Okay. And the way you're going to deal, the way you're going to deal this pandemic, or the way you're going to deal this work from home, is also going to define how you're going to perform in the next 2 3 years in that organization. Okay. Hiring processes have changed. Okay. Now, previously, the companies who were doing four rounds of interviews, putting so much time, now they're hiring with two interviews. And even since because of the revenue crunch, a lot of these companies, what they are doing is they are hiring internally rather than going out. Okay. And when they are hiring people, they are looking out for certifications, they are looking out for relevant work experience. So freshers sometime may face problem. Okay, but jobs are there definitely. And but the change has happened because of this COVID thing, in terms of hiring, in terms of the work that people are getting, the extra effort they have to put in, and in terms of the interaction that they were having with their teams. Previously, if I was working with a team which was sitting in next floor, if I'm not getting any data, I can go and talk to them directly, but right now it is not feasible. So that change has also happened in terms of the way the work is being done, and that is going to be a long way now.
Sir, can you give some examples for wholesale banking jobs which includes interacting with clients and analysis as well?
So one of the example of that would be, if you are into you are a relationship manager for SME clients. Now, if suppose you are sitting in HDFC Bank and you are managing clients with with a revenue of around 10 crores to say 100 crores. Now, those are already the bank's customer, but what is your responsibility is to make sure that they do not leave the organization, or they do not leave HDFC Bank or the bank with whom you are working with. So retention of client is your responsibility. Second, cross selling of services to that client is your responsibility. So a lot of these clientels will need additional support. For example, letter of credit. They might need assistance in raising money from the market. So you should be the first person they should reach out to. Okay. So a lot of these companies or SMEs generally go to bigger banks only for having a current account, or having basically basic services. But how you can convert them into other source of revenue for the bank is what is being checked. So relationship manager into SME segment is one such, therefore a wholesale banking side. Plus, uh, front end roles may there are also people working in deal structuring or debt structuring. So if suppose I'm looking out to raise money, from the market. Okay, not IPO. I'm looking out to raise money through bonds or through commercial paper. Then I might go to a bank who is active in that market, say for example Kotak, or say for example HDFC, SBI market cap, capital markets. So those kind of businesses also are doing a lot of services where you have to interact with the customer. So if suppose I'm helping Dabur Group to raise money, say around 600 crores from the Indian market with respect to debt. So obviously that will help, that will need to interact with the organization, understand their balance sheet, understand their numbers, and create a good presentation, which and making sure that whatever documentation is there for SEBI, which is the regulatory body in India, that is being managed. How the pricing is going to be done for that debt instrument. So that is also a very active job that is there in the wholesale banking side. So I've given you two examples of it.
Sir, we have one more question. What are the prerequisites in terms of skill sets for someone in marketing domain to get into consulting firms?
Okay, consulting is all about selling. Okay, so when you are working as a consultant, the expectation is that you will go and work in in the client's location. Okay, and you will obviously do your work, but your also responsibility is to make sure that there is a good rapport with your client and generate extra revenue. So as you will move, even in the consulting side, you start out as an analyst or as an associate, then you become senior associate, then you move towards partner side. So as you grow, manager, senior manager, as you grow in the consulting side, the expectation is that you have to sell, you have to bring business. Okay, so if you are good in that aspect, okay, apart from your technical skill side, I'll give you an example. So if you if you are an FRM charter holder and you are working with PwC, they go and do risk consulting to a lot of these banks. Similarly, CRISIL also does it. So obviously they will hire somebody who has an FRM certification. For this is required for the technical requirement of the job, but they would train you into how to manage a relationship with your client. Okay, because you might end up working with that client for the entire year, and that will define how that client is going to give extra work, a new work to PwC basically. So that is where your rapport, your understanding about what all new projects that the company might come up with and where your company can assist, also that is basically your selling side. You helping your manager or senior manager in understanding how we can pitch more, or how we can pitch get more business from the same client, is also very much appreciated. That will help you to grow, because consulting is all about doing your work, that is technical side plus selling.
Sir, how can one enter into investment banking role from a basic accounting role?
Now this is very tricky. So when we talk about investment banking has roles into operations also, which is very basic activity, where so basically investment banks are doing trades, and that trades are happening in in terms of dollar amount, millions of dollar daily, and that trade is happening across global locations. So you have a trading desk in London, you have a trading desk in New York, you have a trading desk in Hong Kong, Singapore, and also in Bombay. So a lot of these big investment banks have Worli as a center. Okay, now all those trades that are happening, you have a back-end team to support it. So that is where your operation comes into. So when we talk about investment bank, if you want to get into operation side, it is easy. Only skill set that is needed is basically, if you are an MBA, that is good. Obviously there has to be roles available for it, but getting into trade settlement, getting into trade analysis, or getting into trade clearings part, so those kind of roles are there. It is very easy to enter into those kind of roles. The requirement for that, apart from your MBA, would be for you to understand how a trade life cycle works, how exactly a trade completes from the execution towards the settlement side. So how exactly that is happening, that is very, very important. Next, you should have an understanding about what investment banks do. Okay, that is very, very important. You should also have some basic idea about risk. Then you can easily enter into operations side. But if you want to enter into a bit niche area, that is say finance, Okay, the finance has a team called product control. So they hire a lot of CAs, they hire a lot of MBA in finance, they also hire a lot of CFAs. Okay, now over here, since the crowd itself is technically sound or people who have a lot of degrees, so entering becomes thoda difficult. Okay, but over here into finance side, you need to have good accounting understanding. And when I'm referring to accounting, it's not Indian accounting, it's more about US GAAP or IFRS understanding, and also good understanding about reporting. Okay, how things are going to get reported to the senior management. Obviously, if you're a fresher, then you might not have that understanding. But if you have work experience into similar kind of roles, or say accounting side, even there you do reporting, so that reporting aspect is there. If you want to move to treasury, if you want to move toward risk, then having some certification apart from your MBA will help, because those are core areas and the roles are low. So if you look at a normal investment bank, a risk team would be around 100 people. Okay, that I'm referring to India. Similar 100 level people will be there across globe for the risk side. So the roles are less, and you will find people sitting besides you will be from IIMs, from IITs, or people with statistical background, people with economics background. So to get yourself ready for that job, you need to have some niche skill set. It can be statistics, okay, it can be core product knowledge, okay, it can be core risk knowledge, okay, or it can be core country analysis, economics related degree also helps you. So these kind of structuring or these kind of core skill set will help you to enter into risk management side, helps you to enter into treasury side. Then there are also roles related to compliance. So compliance side, you need to be aware about the regulations that will help you to grow or enter into that role. Okay, when I'm talking about regulations, if it's an Indian firm, definitely you will have regulation with respect to RBI. But if it's a global regulation, that Federal Reserve, PRA, then you have Singapore Monetary Authority regulations. So the more better understanding you have with respect to those global regulations, Basel regulation is also one of them, more chances that you will get an entry in that role. So I've just tried to cover 3-4 pointers. Having an MBA is definitely going to help you in entering into these roles, but getting entry into core roles, we need something extra. I hope I've answered your query.
Sir, what are the certification courses one should undertake to get into investment banking apart from MBA with finance?
Like I mentioned, it is CFA, which is widely considered in the industry. Now the CFA has 3 levels primarily. Now having level 1 cleared is uh, not very interesting for the audience or for the investment banking side, because they will find so many people with CFA level 1 cleared. If you have completed level 2 or level 3, then it becomes easy for you to distinguish from the rest of the crowd. Okay, so having CFA with CFA level 2 or level 3 is important. Having a good understanding about Basel is definitely going to help you. Okay, so there are Basel certifications that are available, but those are costly. So generally people do it when they are working in the organization. Freshers generally do not go for it. So if you're a fresher, then CFA or FRM is a good bet for you, okay, to enter into investment bank. If you're an experienced professional with say 2-3 years of experience, then getting and doing some Basel related certification, getting and doing uh, some niche certifications related to regulators. So there is certification specific to Canadian regulation. There's a certification related to Federal Reserves. That will also help you to enter into investment banks. But that is very niche area. That is only possible when you have 2-3 years of experience. In terms of fresher, it is CFA, FRM, or Python that will help you.
Sir, continuing to the person from marketing to consulting, is there that mean that a person from the marketing domain need to have financial certification as well to get into a consulting firm?
Not exactly. Not exactly. See, it depends upon what kind of consulting he's doing. Okay, I'm assuming that he's looking into marketing consulting, or basically a digital marketing consulting, or brand management consulting, or design consulting. So these aspect doesn't require you to have financial certifications. These specific things requires you to have certification related to, for example, digital marketing. Now there are so many people who are offering digital marketing certification. The core thing is you should be able to know which social media or which, for example, LinkedIn, what kind of audience comes over there, what is your communication that you will put up in that medium. That understanding has to be clear. Having a certification will only help you to enter or go for that interview. But when you sit for that job or sit for that interview, they will ask you so many questions with respect to marketing. Okay. One more thing that people should be very clear about is there's one gentleman called Philip Kotler. That so marketing people will definitely know about them. So those his principles are definitely used in day-to-day activities that marketing people do. So those having a knowledge about those principles, okay, business related principles like CK Prahlad was a business management guru. So those principles which he had given, so those that are widely used in business when they are doing marketing. Okay, so that is required, not the financial side as such.
Can someone do CFA online, sir? Is it possible?
Online in the sense, see, CFA as a course is similar to what you have CA. So CA Institute will conduct the course. They will not train you for that course. Okay. And there's a particular date on which you have to go for the exam. So it's basically a self preparation course. So giving online is right now being done because CFA level 1 is being conducted online. So, but you'll have to go to a center to give the exam. Level 2 and level 3 is your paper pencil exam as of now, and where you'll have to go to the exam center like you have been giving exam in your college. So you'll have to sit for that 4 hours or 3 hours, and you have to sit mark on the paper and that side. So exam is definitely going to get conducted. If you're talking about preparation, then definitely people are doing preparation online. There are institutes which definitely helps to do it. So obviously I am also training into FRM and CFA, but apart from that, self preparation is also possible. A lot of students do self preparation. They have been able to succeed in the exam, so that is not a problem as such.
Sir, how one can enter into investment banking firm or consulting from an average B school? Like how should be the strategy for the same?
Okay, now what generally happens is uh, if you are from a consulting firm, you have seen a lot of different firms. See, because you have been working on different projects. So consulting within consulting firm, what will generally happen is you will go and do a project for, if you're into banking side, you'll go and do a project for say HDFC Bank for 6 months, and you might go for RBI and do project over there for 2 years. Likewise, so you get an opportunity to work with different companies, understand what they're doing, and you have a very good idea about the market. Okay, and that understanding is highly appreciated in the industry. Okay, but obviously when you are looking at consulting, it has to be relevant consulting work. So if I have done risk consulting and I'm then entering into risk side, then that is appreciated. But if I'm getting into finance side, it might not be relevant to them. So obviously consulting experience is good, is appreciated, but having an MBA from a good B school will go a long way because people recognize the name of the college, and you will more importantly, you will find alumni from your college, and they will help you to enter, they will enter into roles, they will help you to enter, get information related to roles. Okay, so consulting is a good role to be into, and entering into that from investment banking is easy because industry perceive that you have a good understanding or good knowledge because you've already worked with different companies. So it is easy, and having a normal MBA plus consulting should help you to enter into it easily.
Okay, sir, how one should plan for MBA with finance from an engineering background? Like he has not experience about the finance, so how one should strategize for MBA with finance from an engineering background?
So you are saying he has already entered into an MBA college and then
Yeah, yeah. So person has already entered into an MBA college and he need to select the specialization from second year onwards. So he's from the engineering background. So how he can go for the MBA with finance, and what should be
Okay,
the strategy like?
okay. So first of all, having an engineering background is not a negative thing for you, especially in finance. Okay, because finance is more or less working on numbers, on statistics, on models, which is easy for people coming from engineering background to know. So they learn about statistics. Okay, they learn about basics of coding. Okay, so those aspects should be ideally strong for you. Even though when you're studying for finance in MBA college, you might not see a lot of this, but when you're going and working in the industry, engineering is appreciated, and they know that engineering student with a finance and MBA in finance will is a good combination. Okay, in terms of your last year or your specialization into finance, accounting is the only challenge. Accounting side is because you've never done accounting, because you've been into engineering side, you've been into technical side. So accounting is the only part, or taxation is the only part where you might face a challenge. Rest, your product side, futures and options, swaps, currency, is not difficult. In fact, it is more logical. So if you come from that engineering background, then you will have more of an analytical mindset, which will help you to cover a lot of these product side easily. But from the accounting side, it might be a bit challenge. So you have to play in your strengths for the second year, because you will find a lot of companies or a lot of placements that is happening is more related to product, not related to accounting side for an MBA. Okay, so having not having very good skill set in accounting side is okay, but having a product knowledge is very essential. That product can be your retail product. Okay, that product can be your financial market products like stocks or bonds, that way.
Mm, okay, sir. Do we have any more questions from the audience?
Okay, I think so the queries are resolved.
Yeah, sir. There are no more questions. So let's conclude the session. Yeah, sir. First of all, thank you so much for your time. The webinar was quite insightful, and I must say the lots of learning was there because you have shared your professional experience with us by giving the perfect example of being punctual and how it is important to know the hierarchy of the organization, then core values and business, how one should adopt the proactive approach and create visibility of himself in the organization, how it is important to showcase your ability and not just immediately implement your strategy, and why one should take proper time to understand things and then implement the strategy. And you also talked about how it is important to be agile in the corporate world, how corporate world is perception driven, like your kind of work you are doing, that's the create the perception in the mind of a person, how it is important to put your ideas forward in front of people while doing networking with the senior management, how entrepreneur mindset helps a person in their job, what's the importance of leadership in the organization, like you might not have manager all the time and he's on leave, then how leadership skill can help you to manage the things, and how rapport with the manager can help you in growing in your career. So you have highlighted some of the key things through your this webinar, and also the Q&A session was amazing and lots of learning was there as well. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Best of luck for you guys, and do your MBA properly, learn a lot of things, enjoy the process, and definitely this 1 year, 2 year that you're going to be having in the B school is going to be the best time of your life. And because after this, you're going to be entering the corporate side, and it's going to be a lot of monotonous work, a lot of stress, and all that. So enjoy and definitely learn a lot. I hope best of luck for you, and in terms of placements, in terms of career ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.